Today's show was recorded at Beeple Studios in Charleston, South Carolina. Mike Winkelmann, known professionally as Beeple, is an American digital artist, graphic designer, and animator. He is a resident of Charleston, and he was kind enough to have us stop by at his studio for an interview. So here we go with our interview with a very prominent member of our community. Hey everybody, welcome to the Shrimp City Report. My name's Devin. I'm here joined with the co-host, DJ. How are you doing?
I'm a little overstimulated, honestly. Is that the best word for it? I mean, it is a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
There's a lot to take in.
Yeah, we're definitely at one of the coolest places in Charleston, the Lowcountry, or pretty much anywhere. We were at Beeple Studios with the man himself, Mike Winkelmann. How are you doing, Mike?
How we doing?
We're doing good. Thanks for inviting us over.
Yeah.
We have come to several events. In fact, your last three. And we've become fans, really getting into the art, the story, especially the story about the 5,000 or the 15,000.
5,000.
Oh, is it 5,000?
We'll get to 15,000.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Right. The story of the 5,000 is very interesting as well. You're a Midwest guy, though, right?
Yeah, I've been here since 2017, and my brother was out here, and I was doing freelance work, and so I was just kind of tired of the winters in Wisconsin,
Right.
And so we decided to move out here, and our kids weren't in school yet, and so, yeah, I love it out here, and it's just been, every time I look at the weather back home in the winter, it's like, oh my God.
Were you always a big artist, even like in your young days? Like, what did you go to school for?
Yeah, so I went to school for computer science, but the entire time, like as soon as I got to school, I started making digital art. And it was always something that, kind of nobody was sort of like telling me to do, or I wasn't doing for any sort of like assignments. I just loved making it and was so interested in it. And so I kind of realized this is what I want to do. But I don't really see any path to being paid for it, to be quite honest, at that time. This is, 1999. And so I was like, I'm just going to get through my degree and I'll get a job, sort of utilizing the sort of like computer science degree, and so I started doing web design, and then I was making art on the side and really truly putting my kind of like full kind of like energy and passion into that, and the job was just a day job. And so that's been really like I'm not a super well-rounded person. Like I'm pretty all in on art,
right?
And so it's been kind of the sort of like driving force my entire adult life is making tons and tons of different things, and super interested in what technology can allow us to say and do sort of like artistically.
So you were on the vanguard of that, really, with so in the 90s, what was it? Photoshop, other vector drawing.
Yeah, I don't think Maya was even out then or anything like that, or any of the major,
or if Maya existed or anything. So you were
maybe Autodesk, just like
I was, the first kind of like, the first sort of like tools that I used were, or one of the like biggest first tools was Flash, if you remember that.
Oh, yeah, for
a lot
sure.
of the kids probably
Flash
don't
Animate,
know,
all that stuff.
know what that is, but it was kind of like a tool for sort of like doing, by today's standards, very simple animations. But so that was kind of the like first stuff, and always sort of like experimenting with kind of like, very abstract videos that didn't really have a clear home. Like I would enter film festivals and it would just be like, what the hell is this crap? Like, is this DVD skipping? Like, this doesn't seem right. And so, it kind of just really sort of like progressed for there. And I was always interested in, always the sort of like newest, the shiny new tool and what that would allow me to kind of like do that I couldn't do before. And so, then it sort of like progressed to 3D, and now obviously AI gives us an insane amount of sort of like new capabilities.
Let's talk subject matter. Just looking at through the wall we were looking at earlier, there's a lot of like, I guess, would it be fair to say dystopian type depictions and stuff, but there's also a lot of just simple like drawings that you have in there. Like a drawing of the fly is one of the favorite pictures you have in there somewhere in the middle. What draws you today? Is it a lot of like culture stuff around?
Yeah, it's a lot of sort of like taking the themes that are happening today and kind of like extrapolating them out, or taking a sort of kind of extreme take on sort of like trends that are happening,
Right,
kind of like currently. And I think what's to me very exciting is that these tools have gotten so fast and so good that, you can make something and be part of this sort of like global conversation, kind of minutes later, to be quite honest, now with sort of like AI. And so, yeah, I think it's trying to present a not necessarily. It does come across, sometimes more sort of like dystopian, but it's kind of tongue in cheek. And I think, to me, I'm trying to kind of bring up more sort of like questions and answers in terms of like, what is sort of like going to happen? Because I don't truly know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that is good that you're promoting a dialogue as far as all the tools and everything. You remind me of, frankly, like a maker, an enthusiast that is going to give everything a shot and see how they can use it. And I was reading that the AI does enable you to keep up with your daily putting out a piece, to keep on with your 5,000. Hey, everyone. We really want to encourage you to visit the refinery in Charleston, South Carolina. The refinery is a beautiful mixed-use facility that's home to upscale office space, 2 restaurants, the Limbo Lounge, and an amphitheater that hosts national, regional, and local acts year-round. We cannot recommend it enough. Go to therefinerychs.com to get event and venue information. You can also go to the site to learn how you can even book the spaces you want for your own event. So go check them out, and thanks.
The whole premise of the 5,000, is it correct that it was basically making an art piece a day?
So basically the everydays are something that I started in 2007, and it was a way to sort of like at that time get better at drawing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, if I saw an illustrator out of the UK called Tom Judd who did a sketch a day in his sort of like notebook, and it was like, oh, that's very interesting, and I think I would like to get better at drawing and sort of like, kind of like stick with it. And again, at that time, I'd already been making digital art for about 8 years. And so I just saw it as another way to kind of, sort of improve my sort of like technical skills. And so I did a year of drawing. And at the end of that, I was like, oh, I learned a lot, really like way more than I would before, because it really just, the trick of it is it just forces you to work more. Like you're tired and you don't want to work. And then it's like, oh, crap, I got to do my picture. And so after that, I was like, I could use this to learn a 3D program, Cinema 4D. And so then I started doing a render every day, and then just, kept doing it. And so that was in 2007, and, just did it last night, still doing it. And so the 5,000 days was kind of something where I hit sort of like 5,000 days of every day. Right as this NFT thing was sort of like exploding. And then it was like, okay, we could make that 5,000 pictures into one picture and sort of, kind of sell that with this, Christie's auction that had just kind of presented itself 2 weeks later as an opportunity.
Right.
And so that's how the kind of like timing sort of like lined up there.
Excellent. So we are sitting in a 50,000 square foot complex that this is for creation. It's kind of been described as a combination of Warhol's shop and Bell Labs. So we were walking through, we did see, some areas that were absolutely engineering and electronics. And are you hands-on with pretty much every square foot of this place?
Yes and no. Like definitely like I'm hands-on in terms of sort of like direction, but do I know like electrical engineering and mechanical? Not remotely. Like, no, like not in any way. I am very strictly digital. And so, we've got a great team who's, super, super passionate about this stuff and is very capable. And my brother, he was the one who kind of like put together the team and is been very instrumental in sort of like bringing all this to light, because he's, hired a bunch of engineers from Boeing and sort of, put together this team. And he is an engineer.
Okay.
And so, he's the one who sort of like runs the studio on the kind of like day to day and sort of keeps the wheels on the bus on all these projects. But I'm much more on the digital side. My hands are very like not good.
Right.
I can't. You'd be surprised what I could not make physically.
Yeah, I'm good at smashing things, not building things. So, but you have your events here, and you actually have display space. We've hit several of the events, and you have a pretty big one coming up.
Yeah, the next one we have will be quite different. And so most of the events that we've had here, because the sort of like studio and the gallery is not open to the public kind of like all the time, we've really wanted to focus on bringing people together at specific times to have more of a sort of like communal event, because I think, so often museums are kind of like singular experiences where you kind of go in and you're be quiet and you're kind of sort of experiencing the art alone in a way.
Yeah.
And so we've really tried to sort of like bring people together around these events. This next thing that we're doing, Synthetic Theater, is different in that it's not going to be so much an event as a theatrical performance. It's a seated performance where people are going to come in and sort of like watch a show that we, developed. And so we've never done anything like that. So that will be interesting. It is going to be a learning experience all around.
And you definitely have all the arts covered, like dance, music, film.
Improv as well.
Improv,
Yeah, and so really what we're trying to do is sort of like show a more nuanced picture around AI and how it can be used to sort of like augment these different, kind of like medium, because I think there's a massive room for it to be used as a tool. And I think so often people think of AI and they think of it like some robot is just like making these things and we don't have any control over it. And it's like, no, that's not really the case. Like you have control over it and there's a human behind it, sort of like guiding it and kind of, having it say a specific thing. And so that's what we want to do is really kind of like really trying to kind of like provide more of a sort of like nuanced view of how these tools can be used with these different mediums.
How did Rough House get involved with this?
Yeah, so Danny came to a number of events, and I don't actually know how he even like learned of the studio, to be quite honest, but like he was at the opening and like he kind of like kept sort of like coming back to different events. And we started talking, and then last summer we did the like sort of like cast party for Righteous Gemstones at the studio here. And he was like, "Oh, it'd be cool to do something that's kind of this sort of like counter programming to Spoleto, something that's kind of like a sort of like anti-Spoleto or whatever." And so I was like, "Yeah, let's do something." And we kind of had like a small sort of like kernel of idea, and then we kind of kept talking, and he came and we'd sit and just sort of like riff for a couple hours and sort of, together really develop this idea for what the performance will be. And so, it's been, as a massive, massive fan of his, stuff since Eastbound and Down.
Oh, to the max.
Yeah, it's like such a, very surreal to be working with him and so cool. And so, we're super pumped about it.
It's definitely weird that you mentioning Spoleto came out of Danny McBride's mouth, thinking about that.
Well, and that's what's funny is like, I'd never even been to it before. Like this year we went and sort of, but I didn't really know what it was, to be quite honest. And so it was super cool. And I saw a bunch of amazing performances. And so it was definitely like, oh, this would be cool to kind of like lean into that direction and,
True.
See what we could do to sort of be a part of that.
I would love to have listened to that riffing session, because I'm sure you're like, well, we can have dance too, and then we can have improv, then we can have film, and then I've got this idea for 5D skee ball. We could do that.
It was so cool to see how he was able to kind of like take this sort of like very tiny idea we had and kind of like fully flesh it out. And so he's just very good at kind of putting together the pieces to sort of like make something into kind of like a sort of like fully formed production. And so I think it's the first time we've done something like this, and so we're definitely a bit of out of our element, but I think it's going to be really fun and really something certainly that people have not seen before.
Yeah.
Right.
That I can promise.
And the Lowcountry's really good at supporting you. How do you feel about, you've apparently embraced the Lowcountry?
Yeah, 100%. And you know, at more and more of these events, we're having more and more sort of like artists come out and sort of like paint and sort of like draw and be a part of it. And to me, that's just such, you know, I just feel very fortunate and to be in a position to be able to sort of work with these people and kind of like have them, you know, help give them sort of like a platform and sort of like a place to show off their work. And so, yeah, it's been super, super cool and something we really want to sort of like lean into. There's another event after this, December 13th, where we're going to have even more artists and like, you know, massive amount of people painting live. And so, yeah, that's definitely something that's really, you know, been exciting about being able to have this space.
Excellent. Can you tell us a little bit about when Synthetic Theater is, how we can get more information on that, attend it?
Yep. So it's October 3rd and 4th. Unfortunately, the tickets are already sold out. They sold out in like an hour. And so hopefully it goes well and we add some dates in the spring.
Oh, excellent.
But
yeah, there you
that's
go.
kind of where we're at. But
okay, we can find you on Beeple Studios.
Yep. Beeple Studios. If you just type Beeple in Google, something will come up.
Okay.
Something hopefully good will come
Probably
up.
something coming up about someone who sold an NFT a few years ago for a couple of bucks.
Couple of bucks,
So,
yeah.
You got any save rounds, Dev?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Well, Mike, I really appreciate you cutting out some time for us here at the studio. Enjoyed talking to you, and we look forward to more of your events and more of your work. Thanks
Awesome.
a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.